It was a quiet morning in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. Ibrahim Traoré, known for his simplicity and closeness to the people, had decided to walk alone through the city center after a meeting at the presidential palace. He enjoyed these moments of reflection, away from the formalities of office, where he could directly observe the realities lived by his people. As he passed through a busy square, something caught his attention. Under the shade of a tree, an elderly man dressed in worn-out clothes sat on a makeshift bench made from wooden boxes. He held an old book in his hands, carefully reading each page while ignoring the chaotic sounds around him. Traoré frowned, feeling that something about the man seemed familiar. As he approached discreetly, he realized who it was. Professor Adama, his old high school philosophy teacher, the man who had inspired generations of young Burkinabés to dream big and seek social justice, was now here, living on the streets. Traoré's heart sank. He vividly remembered Adama's lessons on ethics, dignity, and the value of human beings. "Professor Adama," he called softly, his voice thick with emotion. The elderly man looked up from the book, surprised. When he recognized Traoré, his eyes filled with tears. He tried to get up quickly, but his legs were shaking with weakness. Traoré ran to help him, holding him gently by the arms. "Mr. President," Adama murmured, visibly embarrassed. I didn't expect to find you here." "Don't call me President," replied Traoré firmly and tenderly. "For me, you will always be my teacher." Adama shook his head, trying to hide the tears. "Things have changed a lot since those times, Ibrahim. I am no longer the man you knew. You will never stop being the man who taught me the value of dignity," said Traoré, holding the professor's wrinkled hands. "But how did this happen? How did you get here?" Adama hesitated for a moment before responding. "My house was taken over by debt. My pension is insufficient to cover the costs of living these days. I tried to continue teaching privately, but my health, well, it doesn't allow it anymore." Traoré listened in silence, feeling a mixture of anger and sadness rising within him. He knew that stories like Adama's were more common than he would like to admit. Many of the teachers who dedicated their lives to the country's education were being forgotten by the system. "Come with me," said Traoré, helping Adama to his feet. "Let's talk somewhere more comfortable." Ibrahim Traoré, still deeply moved by seeing his former teacher Adama living on the streets, helped the elderly man to his feet and led him to an official car that was waiting near the square. He knew this wasn't just a casual encounter. It was an opportunity to reflect on the social inequalities that still persist in Burkina Faso, despite recent advances. On the way to a small local bank where he used to resolve personal issues, Traoré decided to use his position to initiate significant change. He asked the driver to stop in front of the bank, where he entered, accompanied by Adama. The bank manager, a young, well-dressed man named Sostène, was visibly surprised to see the president enter, especially accompanied by someone so simply dressed. "Mr. President," said Sostène, hurrying to greet him, "it is an unexpected honor to have you here. How may I help you?" Traoré indicated Adama with a soft gesture. "This is Professor Adama, my former master. He was one of the pillars of education in our country, inspiring entire generations. Today, he is here with us because we need to correct something that has been wrong for a long time." Sostène frowned, confused. Of course, Mr. President. But Gay, how can I help you exactly? Traoré looked directly into the manager's eyes, his voice firm and full of purpose. I want you to open a special account for the retired teachers of Burkina Faso, an account that ensures they never again have to go through the hardships Professor Adama faced. And I want that to start today. The manager hesitated for a moment, clearly concerned about the logistical and financial aspects of the proposal, but upon seeing the determination on Traoré's face, he quickly nodded. Yes, Mr. President, we will make it happen. Adama, who until then had remained silent, finally spoke. Mr. President, I don't know what to say. I don't deserve all this. Traoré placed a hand on the teacher's shoulder, his eyes shining with emotion. You deserve better than this, Professor. You dedicated your life to forming minds and hearts. Now it's our turn to take care of you. While Sosten began working on the bureaucratic details, Traoré sat next to Adama on a simple sofa on the bench. He realized this wasn't just about a teacher, it was about all the unsung heroes who had built the country. Professor, said Traoré, his voice soft but full of conviction, you taught me that true wealth lies in knowledge and dignity. Today, we are taking one small step to ensure that others like you can also live with dignity. Adama shook his head slowly, his hands shaking as he held onto the cap he was wearing. I always knew you would do great things, Ibrahim, but I never imagined it would be like this, so human, so present. Traoré smiled, remembering the lessons he had learned from Adama decades ago. I learned from the best, Professor, and now it's time to give what I learned back to our people. Meanwhile, news of Traoré's surprise visit to the bank quickly began to circulate around the city. Employees and customers present discreetly filmed the moment, sharing it on social media. Hashtags such as Dignidade para os professores and Seu Traoré y Professores began to go viral, inspiring debates about the value of education and the treatment given to retired educators. At the end of the meeting, Sosten presented a preliminary plan for Traoré. Mr. President, we will create a special account for retired teachers with additional government-funded benefits. We will also review current pensions to ensure no one is left behind. Traoré nodded, satisfied. This is just the beginning. I want this initiative to be expanded nationwide. Every teacher deserves to be recognized for their work. Adama, still emotional, slowly stood up. Mr. President, I only have one thing to say, thank you. Not just for me, but for all of us. Traoré hugged the teacher tenderly. Thank you, Professor, for everything. Ibrahim Traoré's initiative to create a special account for retired teachers quickly gained national attention. The story of meeting his former teacher Adama, who had been found on the streets, deeply touched the hearts of the Burkinabés. Within hours, videos and photos of Traoré's visit to the bank went viral on social media, generating a wave of solidarity and admiration for the president. Hashtags such as Dignidade para os professores and a Traoré Professores began to circulate widely, highlighting the importance of valuing those who dedicated their lives to education. Many citizens shared personal stories about teachers who inspired them, while others called for similar measures for other neglected categories, such as nurses and elderly farmers. During a press conference at the presidential palace, Traoré spoke directly to the people of Burkina Faso. He was surrounded by retired teachers, including Adama, who was now wearing new clothes and looked visibly healthier after receiving medical and dietary care. "Professor Adama," Traoré said, his voice cracking with emotion, "is not just a man. He is a symbol of everything that is wrong with our current system. A country that does not value its educators is destined to fail, and this cannot continue." He announced that the government would launch a comprehensive program called Appreciation of Unsung Heroes, aimed at ensuring that all people who contributed to the country's development received the recognition and support they deserved. "We're not just talking about teachers," he explained. "We're talking about nurses, farmers, factory workers, all those who built this country with their hands and minds. They deserve our gratitude, our respect, and above all, our protection." The audience applauded enthusiastically, while tears ran down the faces of many present. Adama, sitting next to Traoré, slowly rose to speak. "Mr. President," he said, his voice shaky but firm, "what you are doing today is more than policy. It is an act of love for our people, and I know it will change lives just as it changed mine." In the following days, the Valuation of Anonymous Heroes program began to be implemented across the country. Retired teachers began receiving additional benefits, while mobile medical teams were sent to rural areas to care for the elderly who had been forgotten by the system. In a small village in the interior of Burkina Faso, a retired teacher named Fatou was one of the program's first beneficiaries. She received a revised pension and free health care, something she had never imagined possible. "I have always taught my students that education is the key to the future," she said during an interview with a local broadcaster. "But I never imagined that someone would remember me when I needed help. Thank you, President Traoré, for giving us back our dignity." Meanwhile, international media also began to highlight Traoré's initiative as a powerful example of humanitarian leadership. Newspapers and magazines published articles praising the president for his ability to transform personal moments into meaningful public policy. "Traoré is not just governing a country, he is restoring the soul of a nation," wrote a columnist. For The Guardian, his commitment to dignity and equality is a lesson for leaders around the world. In the months following the implementation of the Valuing Unsung Heroes program, Burkina Faso began to experience a profound transformation in its society. The initiative not only improved the quality of life of thousands of elderly people, but also awakened a feeling of pride and gratitude among the entire population. People who previously felt forgotten by the system now had their voices heard and their needs met. During a special ceremony organized in the center of Ouagadougou, hundreds of people gathered to celebrate the progress made by the program. Among those present were retired teachers, elderly nurses, veteran farmers, and even young students who had been inspired by the stories of these unsung heroes. Ibrahim Traoré took the stage simply, wearing traditional Burkinabe clothes. He looked out at the crowd, visibly moved to see so many people whose lives had been transformed by the program. "Today," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "we are not here just to celebrate numbers or public policies. We are here to honor those who built this country with their hands and minds. You are the true pillars of Burkina Faso." He paused, allowing his words to sink in before continuing. "When I met Professor Adama on the streets of our capital, I asked myself how we allowed this to happen. How did we let our heroes be forgotten? But today I see that we are righting that wrong, and this is just the beginning. Adama, sitting in the front row, slowly stood up to speak. He walked to the microphone with difficulty, but his eyes shone with pride. "Mr. President," he said, his voice shaky but firm, "you have given us back something we thought we had lost forever. Our dignity, and most importantly, you have shown us that a leader must be, above all, human." The audience erupted in applause, while tears ran down the faces of many present. Traoré hugged Adama warmly, knowing that this was more than a political moment. It was a testament to the power of compassion and genuine leadership. At the end of the ceremony, a child gave Traoré a small gift, a handmade notebook with a traditional African fabric cover. Inside it was written, "Heroes never die, they live in our hearts." Traoré smiled, keeping the gift with him. He knew this was more than just a memory. It was a reminder that every act of kindness could create big changes. As the crowd began to disperse, Traoré walked up to Adama and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Teacher," he said softly, "you were my guide when I was young. Now you continue to be my guide, showing the world what really matters." Adama smiled, his eyes shining with excitement. "And you, Ibrahim, are proof that a student can become greater than his master. You are changing our country, and I couldn't be more proud." Traoré and Adama's story quickly became a global symbol of how compassion and respect can transform lives. For many, this was more than a political triumph. It was a demonstration that genuine leadership involves recognizing the value of each individual and acting with humility and purpose. Observing the scene, a journalist wrote in his notebook, "Today, in Burkina Faso, I saw the future of an Africa that values its history, honors its heroes, and builds bridges of dignity for all."